Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished Black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading Black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAWorldNetwork.com and join today.
We're going to get into that here this morning, and I see folks are coming in, and so I want to go ahead and start talking today about expanding your visibility as a thought leader, and also about monetizing your brand. And so we're really going to get into the ability of really taking that to its optimum level by having your own community. So as a global community builder, and I've been building communities now for over 15 years. I've learned a lot about that and understand a lot of the dynamics. And we have, built a network of over 10,000 followers and members. And so we have a little bit of experience and I think capabilities in that space. And so, one of the things that just wanting to start out and kind of get a feel of the audience and folks, share with me, if you will. And as always, I encourage everybody to come online if you can. So sometimes you can't, and that's understood, but we'd love to see you. And share with me a little bit of where you are, and you can put it in the chat. We can say verbally, but I'd like to find out where you are in terms of your personal brand. Do you consider yourself a thought leader or influencer? Do you want to be a thought leader or influencer? So I know that was about 10,000 questions I just asked at one time there. So just to simplify it a little bit, let me just kind of do a little quick, if you will, show of hands, and or use your, if you will, what do you call Zoom? Um, uh, I'm looking for the right term here, but you know what I'm saying. They have these gestures you do on
Reactions,
Zoom, reactions. Yeah,
reactions.
there you go. Thank you, Trace. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. All right, so raise your hands either digitally or literally if you consider yourself to be a thought leader. Okay, so raise this show of hands for those of you who feel like that you're a thought leader. Okay, okay, I see one digital hand. Okay, and if you don't, that's fine. Okay, all right. So at least about 60% of the room. Now let's ask the next question. Do you consider yourself an influencer? And as I ask that question, I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you what to think about in terms of the um, difference between a thought leader and an influencer. Okay. Well, thought leaders tend to be people who are leading, if you will, kind of experts or have a degree of expertise in a particular area, and they talk about it, they write about it, they share about it on a pretty regular basis. So people look to them to understand a particular topic, industry, expertise, or whatever that is. Influencer may not necessarily be someone who has expertise in something. Their expertise may actually be just getting out there and having a lot of activity on social media, and as a result, people have followed them because they like what they do. And it may be from someone who's a runner, and that person is always, social media post or posting in social media. Yes, Hyvel, you can be both a influencer and a thought leader, absolutely. And so the influencers are people who are being followed, people have a wide, if you will, circle of influence. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're an expert in a particular area, but a lot of people are following you. You have a wide circle of influence. So do you consider yourself an influencer? Raise your hand, like I said, either physically or, digitally at this point. So we've got some thought leaders here, but maybe not as many influencers, if you will. Okay. So, having heard that, we're going to talk about the opportunity, and I'm assuming, and put it in the chat if I'm wrong here, that one of the reasons, if not the primary reason that you're here, is that somewhere along this continuum of being a thought leader, or influencer, building an online community in order to expand your opportunities as a thought leader or a influencer is why you are here. Okay. And I hope that's a fair, if you will, assumption that I can make. And so having said that, one of the things that at the end of every our bottom line of all of these discussions that we have on BizConnect generally is someone's looking to elevate their success and generate additional revenue through whatever we talk about that we share in these sessions. So I'm assuming that if you want to monetize your brand, you want to take that which you do as a thought leader or that you do as an influencer and find different ways, to monetize that. So let's kind of, start out with the very basics. If you were selling widgets and you had a store, one of the first things is, for people is to know that you're selling widgets and to know where your store is. Okay. So for those of you who are in um, the digital world, if you will, the internet, social media, also in the physical world as a thought leader, where it seems like about 65, 70% of you reside, how do people find you? How do they know that you are a thought leader? And how do they find you and engage with you? So anyone can take that and answer the question. But that's very important. If you got a store, you're selling widgets. If the people don't know you're selling widgets, they don't know where your store is, probably not going to sell a lot of widgets. So Reggie, how do people know that you're a thought leader and how do they find you?
That that is a great question. And I am working on that. In my previous life, people found me because I had established a reputation, word of mouth, and was the go-to guy, was out front, was doing events, so people knew me. When I left
Mm-hmm.
that life and now I'm in this different world, I have to rebuild that profile, I guess. And that's been a challenge for me. I mean, LinkedIn is one, word of mouth. I've started publishing a couple of few publications on Ghost, which is a platform for journaling. But that's what I'm finding to be the sticking point, getting people to know where I am, what I provide, who I am even. So
Mm-hmm.
great
Yeah.
question. And I'm eager to learn how.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you, I really appreciate, the strength that you just demonstrated and the transparency because, probably everybody here would probably answer the question similar to you, or even I may not even be where you are at this point in terms of getting visibility and people knowing what you're doing and where to find you. Matter of fact, I'll even ask the question, do you know what somebody's going to get when they Google you?
I do. That much I do know, because I've been intentionally, priming the algorithm, trying to at least.
All right.
But yeah, it's not enough. I've had several people tell me, man, you need to update your pictures, you need to put more stuff out there, and that's a work in progress.
And that's absolutely right. And I wasn't picking on you either, Reggie. That
Yeah,
question was for
sure.
everybody.
Yeah.
But and so it's both a literal and a rhetorical question. But honestly, I'm going to even grab somebody and ask them. So Joy, I know you have a university, you have a medical practice. So Dr. Fuller, do you know what people will find if they Google you? Uh-oh, she jumped off. She said, "Man, you're not supposed to be calling on me, Hutch." All right. So, Andrew Frazier, Small Business Pro University. Clearly, you're a thought leader. Clearly, you're an influencer. People need to know what you do, need to find you. If someone looks you up on Google, do you know what they're going to find?
Um, I have a pretty good idea. I mean, I definitely Um, Seek to create consistent content across the social media and every website and everything I'm doing. Of course, things change and sometimes you miss things, so it's always good to review. Um, but it does take time to
Mm-hmm.
build up a presence,
Mm-hmm.
and over time, maintaining a consistent presence can always be challenging. But it's something you work at every day or every week. But I think definitely to your point, it's always good to Google yourself, and even better, what I've done is search myself on AI,
Mm-hmm.
and actually found that I really liked what it came back with. So definitely good to check those things out. And if you don't like what's coming back, then it's good to start putting some different content out there and looking at ways to adjust it.
Yeah, you need to feed the AI and you also need to update your Google. Here's something, guys. If you don't do this now, do this today. Create a Google alert for your name, your company's name, and any brand or business that you're associated with. Okay. You need to know what the world is saying about you. Okay. And you can't keep up with that probably any better way than a Google alert. And for those of you who don't know what a Google alert is, first of all, Google it. That's the first place you start. All right. But what a Google alert is basically you're asking Google that anytime your name shows up on the internet, it will send you an email alerting you that has happened. It'll tell you where it happened, the context, and give you a link to go to that to find out, what was said about you. Okay. Now, one of the things you're going to find out when you're using Google Alerts is that, Reggie Turner is not the only Reggie Turner in the world. Okay. So there was a young man here last year that was setting records in high school football named Jerome Hutchinson. And I was getting Google alerts on him, and I kept saying, well, I'm just going to go ahead and own that and run with it. But anyway, seriously, you will run into times where your name is going to pop up and come back with other people, but you will be surprised at times. It's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that this and that may have happened as related, or you did something, but you didn't realize that it had gotten out to the way and extent that it did. Same thing with your brand. I actually do that with my family. And actually, I just recently had my virtual assistant to do a Google alert on every ICABA member. Okay. And you might say, well, why are you doing a Google alert on all of the members? Well, one of the things that we want to keep up with is if you're doing something cool, we want to be able to say congratulations and we want to share that within the community with folks. So Google Alerts is a great way. If you're doing business with someone, what better way, as I just described to you, than to keep up what that business is doing than doing a Google alert on that business? So if you have clients, if you have customers, if you have um, the sponsors or whatever for the things that you're doing, a Google alert on those companies can be very helpful to know what's going on in the space. You can also do Google alerts on topics. So you can use it for a wide variety of reasons, and it's really an effective tool to use to kind of keep up with updates and information on things that are important to you. And in this particular case, is we're talking about your personal brand and your influence and your thought leadership and how you monetize that. Knowing what's being said about you is critical. The last thing is we're talking about the Google and what people say about you. What I didn't really hear anybody say is I have gone to my Google, if you will, profile on a regular basis, and I've checked it, and updated it to make sure it reflects everything that I want somebody to know today. Because probably many of you did your Google profile, last month, last year, or who knows, 5 years ago. And if you have not changed anything over the past, month, year, or 5 years or whatever, you're good. I suspect that probably since the last time you did your Google profile, something has probably changed and you want to go to your Google profile and update that. So that's the other thing. The other thing is, who are you asking to talk about you on your Google profile? Okay. Have you asked anybody recently to do a profile or, if you will, testimonial endorsement, so to speak, for you as it relates to your Google profile? That's another way to do it. And if you did one of those persons per month, at the end of the year, you've got 12 people who got saying some really nice things about you. And if you did two of those, three of those, obviously do the math and you can do the calculation. So that's a great way as a tool, as it relates to people who are thought leaders and influencers, to expand and create, if you will, awareness. That one, the visibility that's out there. Also, it's the kind of thing that Google itself looks at when it searches. And so when Google searches and saying, I want to know who is one of the best estate planning attorneys, in the state of Florida, we see that this person's Google profile has been updated, and in the past, 6 months, and they're active. People have said good things about them. Guys, that raises your search. Your SEO becomes enriched, by doing that. So we're talking about how to elevate your brand, how to elevate your visibility, and we want to also now kind of go into talking about it from the standpoint of building an online community and why you should consider doing that. And if you remember early on, I said visibility by itself is not enough. You have to have a structured, if you will, plan, consistency of that visibility, consistency of your activity is extremely important to be able to convert the visibility that you get. Don't have to tell you there's a lot of noise in the marketplace. There's a lot of people vying for eyeballs and ears, and folks are trying to get other people's attention. And so you have to really be, if you will, very active and intentional and structured, to be able to do that. Look at your website. When's the last time you updated your website? I'm going right now through a website relaunch that'll be done by the middle of next month. I just redid this whole website just 3 years ago. So, these things are not something that you kind of do and is done, and you don't have to go back to it for years. The world is moving fast, and you've got to stay, if you will, up with it. I mentioned about the website. One of the reasons that we're launching our website is our digital ecosystem has grown tremendously over the past 5 years. And so we have a number of different parts of that. And those things now have to be, better, if you will, positioned to let the event site, to let our community, to let our other sites do Black Professionals Month, ICABA website, to focus on that specific area that they're there to focus on, but also to be better integrated. But also, at the end of the day, when somebody comes to your website, they came because they wanted something, they're looking for something, and how well you deliver that and how quickly you're able to get them to exactly what it is that they want, and to know that they were there and give them a clear path to convert into getting what they want is going to be the key to your success. And so, looking at your website, you need to ask yourself those questions. When somebody gets to my website, now they're going to be convinced in the first 30 seconds that they've landed on a website that's going to give them information, relationships, opportunities, whatever it is that they're looking for, expertise, that this is the right place. This is what I was looking for. Man, this is it. I want to know more. Because if it doesn't happen in the first 30 seconds, and it doesn't load fast, so on and so forth. These are things that I'm talking about that are going beyond visibility. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about structure. Structure is your platform. Structure is your foundation. Structure is your operations. When I was in the retail business, I would tell my employees all the time, customer service does not start and end with a smile. Okay. Customer service starts with a smile, but it really, if you will, ends with operational proficiency. You can be smiling at me all day, but if you take, 15 minutes to ring up my order and get me out, I don't care how much you're smiling, I'm going to be upset. But if you can smile at me and get me out in 15 seconds, hey, I'm really going to be happy. And so those are the kind of things you have to keep in mind. Again, in this case, I'm using the smile as the metaphor for visibility. Visibility is great, but how are you converting it visibility? So as we get ready to get into the online community piece of this, I also want to talk about something that you should be mindful of. Many of you may have a LinkedIn page or a LinkedIn group or a Facebook page or a Facebook group. on the various platforms where you have the opportunity to aggregate people. And before anybody gets the wrong impression, I want to be real clear. The social media platforms have tremendous opportunity for attraction. They have tremendous opportunity for visibility, tremendous opportunity for engagement, but they don't have as much as it relates to what you can do on your own community for conversion. They don't do nearly what you can do in your own community to own your data. Remember, whenever you're building your platform, I mean, your community, your group, the people who are following you, or whatever that is, on somebody else's platform, you are always going to be at the mercy of how that platform operates. And many of you know that, 10 years ago, you could send a post out on Facebook and reach literally thousands and thousands of people. But if you've got a Facebook group now, and let's say you've got 500 people in your Facebook group, and you put a post in your Facebook group, if you put a post in your Facebook group, you'll be lucky if 30-40% of those people see that post. And those are people who are specifically on your page in your group. I'm looking at my picture here online and it looks like I'm freezing up. Am I freezing up on you guys? Oh,
Nope.
okay. Fantastic. It did it about 5 times just here. So I figured I probably need to say something. All right. So the other thing is, can you download the data of the people who are in your Facebook group or your Facebook page and have that data for yourself where you can use it and repurpose it? Basically, the answer to the question is no. Okay. I've talked to several business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and influencers who have, for whatever reason, gotten to the crosshairs, if you will, of a social media platform and either got suspended or kicked off that platform. Okay. Think about what you build on some of these social media platforms, and if either intentionally or unintentionally your account gets suspended or you get kicked off, what are you going to be able to do with all of the effort that you've put into building that group? So, what I recommend to folks who are serious about building their brand, becoming thought leaders, or expanding, their footprint as thought leaders and influencers, is you need your own community, because there, and what you want to do is continue to use the social media platforms, but use them to attract, get your own community to aggregate. So then once those people are in your community, you've got a greater opportunity, or the opportunity, not greater, you have the opportunity to really be able to repurpose the data, to stay in contact with them, build loyalty, and so on and so forth. Havel says she uses Constant Contact for her data, which is a good place, for basic data. But it is not quite the same as a community, which we're going to get into here in just a moment. So before we go too deep into the community, I want to stop and introduce to you all one of our members who's here with us today, Tresa Chambers. And one of the things I know that is a important, if you will, activity and opportunity for thought leaders is publishing. I mean, one of the greatest ways to build your credibility and visibility is by becoming an author. Okay, it's amazing what I've seen happen to people who, just because they published a book, all of a sudden people see them in a whole different light in terms of how they see their credibility and so on and so forth. Um, it gives you an opportunity to go out and not just say, hey, I want you to hear about me, but I want to talk to you about my book. So it gives you a cause to get into somebody's inbox, to get onto somebody's feed, to get on somebody's, TV, radio show, newspaper article that goes beyond just who you are. So people may not be as interested in knowing who, if you will, Grant McGaw is, but Grant McGaw writes his book about the 10 infallible strategies for building your brand into being a super, if you will, marketer. Somebody says, hey, I want to know about that. And so it's, having your brand extended through a book and publishing is a great way to raise your visibility, add to your credibility, and create engagement opportunities that you might not normally get. And so I want to now introduce Tresa Chambers. And Tresa, I'm going to pull her up next to me, and I want to go to our community. So we were talking earlier a little bit about the value, of community. And one of our values for community is the fact that, when we have our biz connect, it allows us to pull upon and focus and showcase our members who are doing things that, everybody would want to, not everybody, but people want to know about, that may be an opportunity for them to do business with or find a reason to connect, and collaborate. And so it also allows you to be able to engage and share with people and have them to share different opportunities that are going on with them. And so, without any further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Tresa Chambers. And Tresa, let me share my screen so they can see a little bit about you, and then she's going to tell you a little bit more. That I'm going to ask her some questions, and we'll segue back to the online community for wrap up. So, uh-oh. Wrong thing. Whoa. What happened here? Give me a second, guys. Stop sharing. Oh, there you were. I had it up. Okay, sorry. That's yeah, oh man. You did it again. Let me see here. There we go. All right. Sorry, guys. Fumbling a little bit here today. Okay. So Tresa Chambers is the founder and CEO of 10th Muse Enterprises. And her superpower is empowering diverse voices in the creative community to make an impact on the world while improving their personal economy. And her superpower allows her to see possibilities for others and draw on her connections to bring what's possible to reality. In other words, you've been sitting around thinking about how you're going to establish yourself and get yourself out there as a thought leader. Then she's going to help you to figure that out and make that happen. So her expertise is in marketing and brand management. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to have Tresa Chambers tell you a little bit more about it. And I've got a couple of questions for her. And let's jump right into it. And it looks like I am fumbling in navigating through Zoom. All right, so we are back. Tresa, it's all yours.
Hi, thanks, Hutch, and good morning, everyone. So it's really interesting that I love, hearing Hutch talk about community and the challenges of the current technology landscape in terms of being found and making sure that you have your right brand presence. I'm a brand and publishing strategist. And so I'm really interested in helping business leaders, thought leaders, and particularly those who want to get a message out and have a specific message that they want to get out and have an impact, tell their stories using books as a primary tool. But a lot of times what I've observed is that people who have already published their books don't really think of their books as a business asset, and they don't treat it as a part of their business strategy. So that's something that I'm especially interested in, because the things that I see where authors have challenges are things like they may sell a couple of hundred books and they think that that's good. They may be frustrated because they hit a certain point where they just can't get any additional sales, or they aren't getting the interest of the audience that they're trying to reach. And it really becomes about just selling the books. So in my mind, and the way that I talk about your book, it's that it's a component of your business strategy. So your book is about not only actually the physical sale of the book, but it really is about elevating your brand and creating opportunity for you that's more profitable so that the proportion of your book sales becomes not as important as the selling of your brand. So that's something that is really important. And so being able to honor the story that you want to tell and impact the audience at the scale that you want is something that I'm very committed to. And my background is in publishing pretty extensively. I started out in journalism at Time Magazine in New York, and I was there for 5 years covering business, politics, and international affairs. And then I switched over to the marketing side of the business and had an opportunity to lead at Reader's Digest doing integrated marketing as a publishing director. I've done brand licensing for Goosebumps book series. I've done academic publishing and editing. So I've touched every aspect of publishing, and I have a master's degree in publishing as well. That's how passionate I have been about the subject, so that I have maintained relationships with leaders in the publishing industry. I'm also a member of the Women's National Book Association. We have a chapter here in South Florida, but there are chapters all over the country. And it allows me to keep my finger on the pulse of the industry, learning about what are the ways, what are the trends that are happening in the publishing industry. And these days, one of the big trends, of course, is everybody wants to self-publish. And there are pros and cons of self-publishing. And that's really something that people who want to go down that path aren't really facing, because if you think about it, if you go with a traditional publisher, there's a whole team of people who are there to produce your book, from editing to design to copy editing to layout. But when you are the self-publisher, then all of those jobs become yours. And that's something to think about when you consider that self-publishing path. I talk about self-publishing, hybrid publishing, and traditional publishing, and I help authors take either one of those approaches, and that are going to be best for them, and ultimately help them identify their audiences, have them put together a launch plan. I actually have written an ebook called How to Launch, which is about my experience launching books, products, brands, and as a resource for others who think about launching. But that launch process is something that authors must think about 6 months to a year in advance of actually their publication date. And then from there, there's still more launching to do. And so those are the kinds of things that I like to help thought leaders with, because there are plenty of people who are interested in your book, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. But if you're trying to get found on Amazon, for example, among the hundreds of millions of books, it becomes a challenge unless you have a strategy. So that's really core to what I like to focus on.
Fantastic. Well, just so that everybody knows, I'm going to share the website for Tresa, and so that you basically know where to find her. I really wish that I don't know why it gets so hard sometimes on switching channels here on Zoom. It's getting harder every day, it seems like. But this is her website. 10th Muse Enterprises is the name of her company. And you can find her there, and I'm sure she'd be happy to drop the website and any other information. ICABA members, you can definitely reach her on the ICABA community. And for those of you who may need to reach her through email or other ways, she'll share that with you. So Tresa, as it relates to publishing and so on and so forth, it's something that we've heard probably on many times before, that I'm going to write my book one day, and I'm sure you've had that conversation with people on maybe more than one occasion. And when someone finally does, make that leap and put that effort, and I love what you were saying about, using a publishing company versus self-publishing, and that, all the things that go along with self-publishing. And the one thing that was implicit in what you said, but you didn't directly say it is, oh, and why you got to do all these other things? You got to write the book. So,
That's right.
so all of it kind of goes together. So if you just thought writing a book was a daunting task, so if you're going to self-publish, you really have to understand to what you just said, Teresa, what it takes to self-publish. And are you prepared, capable, willing, and able, to do those things? But I'd like to ask for you to share a kind of a case, if you will, story of someone that you worked with, that decided to publish, and what happened in terms of a success story from them as a result of them publishing and what it did for them, their career, and so on.
Sure. Thank you for asking that. So, I have worked with a few thought leaders. One of the early clients that I had was a someone who had written the book, but she never promoted it. She had never even thought about it, but she's like, "Oh yeah, I've done this book." And a lot of people do that. They keep it secret for some reason after they've put in the effort. But she's a mentor, and she wrote a book about specific. It was a very specific subject about helping students who were liberal arts majors in college find their careers. And so she was going about her daily life, and she wanted to impact people, but she was only talking to random students. And she has a son. So she put a lot of that on her son, of the knowledge that she had. And so she and I talked about gaining more visibility for her because she wanted to become a consultant and expand her consulting practice and helping students with their career and new graduates with their career path. And so we got together and I put together a plan for her specifically that was PR related. There are a couple of components that are pretty consistent in promoting a book, but what's important and what's unique is the specific audiences that an author is trying to reach. And so we put together a plan for her that focused on getting some media coverage and putting it out in the time frame that made sense, right? When people are thinking about their next career move as a new graduate. And that was something that led her to get more calls, get more sales, because we put it out around graduation time. And that became an opportunity for her to drive those sales up. So thinking about the timing of a book launch or even book promotion is really important. And the other thing that we did, and this is something that I recommend to every author, is to get that third-party endorsement, which is getting the endorsement from a book review. I'm not talking about your reader reviews, but I'm talking about there are 3 platforms that are considered the trusted third-party reviewers, and those are Kirkus Reviews. There's Publishers Weekly and Book Life Reviews if you're a self-published author or a hybrid publisher. And then there's also Indie Reader. So those platforms, you can submit your book for review even before it comes out. And those put those books out and the reviews out, legitimate, trusted reviews from a third party out into the world so that readers can find you. And that's where also booksellers, libraries, and schools look for new titles. So it creates a bigger opportunity for your readers to find you. So I did that approach with my client, and she's been getting, not only has she gotten clients, but she's actually gotten fellowships. She's gotten awards and recognition for her expertise based on the visibility of her book. So that's what's publishing a book can do for you as an author and a thought leader. It really is about creating those other opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you a lot, Teresa. I think you actually answered somebody's question. I saw Havel ask about what about a book relaunch? And as it seemed like
Oh,
that's exactly what you just did for the lady. She had the book, and so I think the question, she was wondering, can you help her with a relaunch? And I think you just told her, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And
Right.
I'll speak to that just real briefly. When we think about, there are milestones that you can focus your relaunch on, and I'm happy to help anyone. But, if you think about, your book's been around for a year, okay, let's update the cover and put it out again. That's a relaunch. It's anniversary, 5 years. Those are the kinds of things. Or if it's related to a particular event, I had another client who wrote a book about she was a breast cancer survivor. She called herself a breast cancer veteran. And so October is a great time every year for her to drive, or actually the months leading up to October is a great time for her to drive her message and her sales, and also get speaking opportunities, media engagement, and those kinds of things. So if you can think about how your particular topic may tie in to bigger national stories and events, then that creates an opportunity for you to really kind of plan a launch and a relaunch and then extend it.
Well, I used a sales analogy earlier, guys, and I'm going to use it again based upon what we just heard from, Trace, and that is this. You shoot when the ducks are flying. So understand when your book is most likely to attract an audience and readers, and then obviously elevate, the visibility during that particular time. So thank you, Teresa. That was fantastic. Reach out to her on wherever you want to connect with her, the ICABA community, go to her website, and I'm sure she'll put some contact information in the chat.
Yep.
And so what I want to do now, I want to end with a couple of things as we're going back to, we were making our way to your own community and, why, you really want to have your own community. And I'm going to do a little segue off of this book and tell you there are a couple of things that why having your own community can also be a great way for you to build ambassadors, visibility, engagement, viral awareness of your book. And this is what I mean. So everybody who writes a book usually has some inspiration from something or someone. And so one of the ways that you can use in writing your book, if you have your own group, and you don't necessarily have to have a major branded online community like the ICABA community. You can, but there's other ways that you can do it. I mean, you can start out with WhatsApp, you can start out with Slack, and some of these other tools that can help you to get there. But we also can help you with ICABA, and we're doing this with some of our folks now, like with Andrew Frazier. We're helping him to expand through a space. He's delivering and partnering with ICABA to deliver our Founders Circle. And that is giving us an opportunity to promote what he's doing to Small Business Pro University with his own group and space on the ICABA community. Excuse me. So that's one of the ways that we can help. And so we're going to start a online community series in June. And so we're gearing up for that right now. And when that series starts, it'll be a good opportunity for you to learn more and get into it. But I wanted to finish what I was saying about how a community could help you with your book. So if you decide that you're going to write a book, and say you want to write a book about, the best ways to raise capital. So Reggie, I'm kind of going back to you. And well, one of the things that every solution starts with a problem. And many books start out stating a problem that needs to be solved and then giving you the solution. Well, not that it's the best way or the only way, but could be a pretty cool way, if you have a community of folks, whether it's 50, 500 or 5,000 that are entrepreneurs that you say, what are the challenges that you're having in accessing capital? Okay. And I would guarantee you that if you've got an engaged group of people, an engaged community, you're going to get back some responses that you would be able to use in your book. You could start out your book. So and so told me that this was the problem that they had, and this is the problem that that person had, and that person had. Well, let me tell you, we can solve all these problems, continue to read and go forward. Secondly, as you're talking about the solution, you can also ask people about how did you solve this problem with, finding capital? So you will be able to amplify and kind of buttress your expertise and what you're already ready to share with also things from people in your community, and having these real world examples is great. And guess what, guys? Give these people their due in your book. When you're finished with the book, say, hey, before we put this book out here, I want to share, this book with some of you folks so you can read it and give me some feedback. And, we're going to ask you also, once you get that back in, to help us to be, if you will, an ambassador for my book. Well, if someone has helped you to get started in your book and contributed to the book and is in the book, I think that when you go to the next step of asking them to be an ambassador, to help you to promote that book and share with their circles of influence, their networks, their people on LinkedIn, their people on Facebook, their people on Instagram. You get the point. They're going to be a lot more interested in wanting to do that because clearly, they've been involved with you and they've supported and they've been a part of your journey. So that's just one of the ways, and there's just literally hundreds of things that the value of being able to structure, okay, your circle of influence so that you can activate it on your behalf to expand and elevate your visibility, your influence, and monetize your brand can really be, if you will, amplified. It can be strengthened and enhanced with your own community, particularly once you structure it, properly. So one of the things that you might ask yourself, what's the difference between an audience and a community? So as an example, you're on LinkedIn, you see a post, and really good post. You may have gotten, two or 300 likes, 10, 15 comments, some reposts, reshares, and so on and so forth. That's an audience. Okay. It's within the LinkedIn community, but that's kind of your audience. Question is, how do you go from having, if you will, an audience to having your own platform? Well, the first thing that you do is continue to build your audience on LinkedIn. Get people following you, give them something. And the one thing I really want to emphasize to everybody here, because LinkedIn, to me, has become this big brag book. I mean, I'd say easily 60% of the content that I see in my feed every day on LinkedIn are people bragging about something. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that in a negative way. What I'm saying is they're talking about, I got this job, I got this promotion, I started this new business, I'm speaking here, I got an award, and blah, blah, blah. I do it. Okay. So I'm not, accusing people of anything. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But we try to make sure that we don't just, if you will, share what we're doing to get, if you will, greater exposure and engagement, have people to participate. But we also try to make sure that we're writing articles and doing other things that are giving people information that can be of value to them. Because you know what they say? People don't know or don't care until they know that you care. Okay. So they don't care about you until they know that you care about them. And the way that you do that is to provide something that is specifically and clearly of value to them, and particularly when you're not asking for something in return. And so your community gets built by really amplifying the audience about who you are and what you do, but more importantly, the value that you bring to the table. Why does somebody want to read you? Why does somebody want to follow you? Why does somebody want to be a part of any event that you do or any program that you're having? At the end of the day, it's always the what's in it for me. So you have to be able to speak to that and get that out there. If you do that, then you'll also begin to understand the people that you're talking to. What are their pains? What are their problems? What can you solve for them? What opportunity can you put them in front of? And that's when you have the ability to really begin to bring them into a community, because if you're a pain reliever, problem solver, and someone who's creating opportunities for growth for people, they're going to want to follow you. So again, as I said, coming up in June, we're going to start a series on online community building. I want to open up right now as we got a few minutes left. Does anyone have any questions, comments, suggestions? Floor is open. Let's hear from anyone who has anything that you want to share or ask.
Hey, I have a question. In regards to like relaunching books and things of that nature, and I probably missed it. Do you do like a free strategy session that can kind of see if it's alignment with you to kind of help someone to relaunch a book, or if it's the right season for them?
Yes, I absolutely do. I put my link to schedule 30 minutes with me, and we can do it there and take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Grant, what you got here? Excellent strategy for expanding your brand presence and expertise. Yep. Javel, you got two separate links on LinkedIn. You got a Calendly for Teresa. I'm going to take you guys to the community. I want to, while you're here, share a couple of things with you that I want to encourage folks to participate and support each other in doing here. Let's see here. Okay, share. Yeah, well, okay. All right. So coming up, we've got a great FaithWorks Friday coming up on Friday with Thea Harris. She's Deputy Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration in South Florida, talking about work-life balance, strategies for maintaining balance between professional responsibilities and personal spiritual growth. Another one of our members from Houston, Dr. Letitia Rowe. She has her Boss Doctors Conference coming up in July 10th and the 12th. And we're going to be one of the sponsors and participating in that. And that's going to be a great opportunity. Grant McGall, all of you are, doing a lot of things in AI, and he's got a build your first AI chatbot for business. Actually, whoa, that was yesterday. Grant, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It
That,
was yesterday, but the replay is now available. It was last night. It was heavily attended. It's supposed to go an hour, but it ended up going 2 hours. So if you look on
wow.
LinkedIn or YouTube, you can get the replay. I think you get a lot out of it.
All right. Well, let's get you to stick that replay if you don't mind, and you're in the AI Accelerator group, of which you're a leading member of, and
Absolutely.
is that we can share that there as well. And also one of our members, Danella Richard. I'm really so proud of Danella. When during COVID she lost her job, got laid off working for Carnival Cruise Lines, and she was an industry spokesperson, and they laid off her entire department and during COVID, which was kind of understandable and made sense. But nonetheless, when you lose your job, you lose your job. Doesn't matter why. And so she decided to launch a television show because it's now become known as Traveling with Danella. And today she is in over 40 million households nationwide. And we both tell the story. I remember having breakfast with her probably late 2022, early 23, and she had been offered a job and a well-paying job, high-profile job that was right in her space. And she was trying to decide whether to take the job or, stay with the TV show. And we talked about it and came to the conclusion to stay with the TV show. And she hasn't looked back since. So, in other words, if you really want some good advice, come sit down with me and I'll tell you the best thing to do, and you'll end up being a success as Danella. All right, so go vote for her though. That's the thing I want to do. Matter of fact, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to drop this link in the chat. There is this thing called Telly, and let's support each other, guys. I keep focusing on this whole thing with collaboration, and I beat up people who say that we don't support each other because I say that we support each other. So help me not be a liar, and let's just take a moment. There's the link for Danella's award, and take a moment and just click on it and vote for her. And let's support our community and help people with what they're doing to continue to expand and grow their business. And we can't go without talking about Unmasked. Dr. Dion's Roundtree, her program coming up, as you can see on the screen, on May 16th. And there's more information in the ICABA community to be able to see and learn about what she's doing there. So I thank you guys for being here today. As I said, we're starting the community online webinar series on in June. And I've got to also, before we go, we are kicking off on May 15th the ICABA Founder Circle. So for those of you who are looking to take your entrepreneurial success, to the next level, we're very excited about this and our partnership with Small Business Pro. University. And you're going to receive an email from ICABA right after this meeting this morning as it relates to Small Business Pro University. And we're doing an early bird special for those of you who want to participate. And I'm going to just give you just a really, quick introduction to what the Founder Circle is, and I'll give you just a quick 60-minute commercial. And let me share my screen and just do like that, and we'll let you get out of here. Okay, share. So the ICABA Founders Circle is a peer-to-peer group advisory for folks who are looking to grow their business. And what sometimes happen is, you hit the ceiling. You're not stuck, but you're trying to break through to that next level. Well, you can now break through with the Founders Circle, because the difference between staying stuck and scaling is structure, systems, and access to strategic relationships. And that's what we're going to deliver here. We're going to help you to accelerate your growth, build trust, and create legacy through a curated, private, and structured peer advisory community. This is not an open network, and it exists to provide founders with proprietary, high-level business development expertise in a trusted, culturally conscious, and confidential peer environment. So we're going to be able to help you to move to that next level and breakthrough by going from founder to masterpreneur through a collaborative approach to growth and success with our Founders Advisory Network, Small Business Pro University, and the overall ICABA community. There will be a part of that is the Masterpreneur Growth Assessment, where we'll diagnose, evaluate where you are, prescribe solutions, and help you to scale faster and easier. You need to be an ICABA member and in business for a year and some other things in order to be successful. The link that you get today will give you this document, so you'll be able to go into this at a slower pace. It's really about collaboration, mutual value, and a curated growth environment. And there are 3 tiers: growth, scale, and legacy. And we're starting the first growth lab. So revenues for those emerging scale founders is between 100,000 to 1 million, with 2 to 25 employees. And the was a 3-hour sessions that will happen monthly, and then there's a quarterly event that will take place. And a lot of different, if you will, tools and expertise will be brought to it. Right now, the cost is for a 12-month program, $19.95 for members, $29.95 for non-members. You can also subscribe monthly, as you can see on the screen. But today, if you get this done before April 22nd, as a member, you can sign up for the first 12 months for $1,000, and non-members is $19.95, and you can see also the monthly. So we're excited, and for those IFAN members who are here today, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, where we're going to get into more details as it relates to the Founder Circle. And we hope that today you really have had an opportunity to really begin thinking a little bit broader about your own, if you will, personal brand, how you can elevate your visibility, and what kind of things you can do to monetize. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And of course, we couldn't do it all and get into all of it today, but we look forward to your interest. And if you're interested in wanting to be on the mailing list for the community series coming up in June, just type community into the chat right now, and we'll associate that obviously with your name, and we'll follow up and be in touch with you. All right. Anybody have anything before we go you want to close out with? You want to share? Going once, going twice. All right. Dion.
Yes, sir.
You were really focused on looking at me on your screen. I know that's what you were looking at. But just wanted to say, anything you want to say about May 16th before we go? Give me the final word.
Yes. Thank you, Hutch, so much for sharing this information with the audience. I just want everyone to know that we are going to increased the prices. Right now, it is extremely affordable. But May 1st, the prices will increase, and we want as many people to come and see Dr. Dennis Kimbrough as possible. It's at the Manatee Lagoon from 10 to 3. You can be a vendor. Of course, you can be a sponsor. So we'd love to see your face in the place right here in West Palm Beach. He's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait and excited. And just those of you who have already either purchased tickets or you've already committed to being a vendor or sponsor, I just want to take a moment to thank you. A big, huge shout out to Grant McGaw, because he has been a phenomenal digital media sponsor for us. He has created all of our promotional materials for this event, and he's just been outstanding to work with, and he's provided such expert knowledge and advice to help me to promote this event. So Grant, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you're doing and for being our media sponsor for this inaugural event. And that's all I want to say. And thank you, Hutch. And Yvette, thank you as well. Just want to thank you both for all that you're doing.
All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care, Hutch.
Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished Black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading Black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAWorldNetwork.com and join today.